Gee, this is Foxboro Rush. We got an exciting show for you guys. We're just heading into week 4, right? Like, we're ready for Sunday. Patriots at 49ers. We're going to say, and we're going to explain, mainly Keegan here, because he texted me about this. He's excited to get this one going. Sunday will tell us all we need to know about the Patriots down the road. We're going to go over and say who should be QB2 on game days. Joe Milton, Drake Maye, someone from the outside. We'll see. We'll talk about some open market stuff they could pursue on guys outside, and we'll talk a little more throughout the football landscape. Keegs, first off, my man, how are we doing today?
Doing all right. It's raining cats and dogs outside. We have to walk down a long hallway to get here, a lot of windows. I had no idea it was going to rain today, so I'm happy I'm inside this cozy studio with you.
You got that nice comfy hoodie on you, too. A little New Balance nice. Boston one?
It's real nice.
Where did you get it? I need to get one.
So you know how it says Boston has a New Balance logo?
Yeah.
It's a New Balance store in Boston.
Oh, is that how it goes?
Yeah.
It fall off the back of a truck or no?
No, I paid full price, which
okay.
In this business, a fool's game paying full price. I have to start sending out emails for some free swag.
Factory outlets, my man. Factory outlets. So
see, this is too nice for a factory outlet. This doesn't get to the secondhand market.
I'm joking. No 5-finger discounts. Let's get into it. Sunday, the Patriots will travel out to San Fran. I mean, they just got embarrassed Thursday night, so you know they're going to be desperate and have something to prove. Bad news, so did San Francisco. Blew multiple 2-score leads against the Rams. Allowed a lot of special teams blunders to have LA get back into that game. LA without Cooper Kupp, I'm not going to get into all that. Christian McCaffrey's not going to play Sunday. Deebo Samuel possibly could. Brock Purdy's a go. Brandon Ayuk's a go. Bosa is a go from what it sounds like. Jordan Mason is a go. This doesn't match up well, Keegan, but you pointed out, you said we can find out a lot about this team depending how Sunday goes. What are you thinking when you look at the Patriots in San Francisco with both teams dying for a win and for the Pats to come out and prove something, especially about their season as a whole?
Yeah, I think this thing can go one of two ways, and I'm not expecting a win, obviously. I think it would be foolish to expect a win, but I think they can either stay competitive and they can compete in this game because there are some things that kind of favor them entering the matchup, or they can get their doors blown off, which I think rattles off a chain of events that I don't think anybody that's listening to this podcast would like to see. So I wanted to get into kind of like the two paths we can go down. So it starts with the good. New England is in a position to compete in this game. Javon Hargrave, out. Opens up a lane for you to run the ball, which is what the Patriots want to do. It's what they've told us they want to do throughout the season. I don't expect that to change. Christian McCaffrey is going to be out. Deebo Samuel's, I'll say doubtful if he does play. Obviously, that changes things, but George Kittle and Trent Williams missed practice this week. Brock Purdy's been banged up a little bit. Mm-hmm. On the injury front, they're in a pretty good spot, the Patriots, just in terms of not having to face superstars on the other side, maybe, or facing banged-up superstars. And then when it comes to what they can do, I think coming off of a blowout loss last Thursday, you've got extra time to prepare. You've got a whole newfound appreciation for the run game because what they tried to do on Thursday in New York was play action. They wanted to start pushing the ball down the field. Evidently, they can't do that. I think we found that out pretty quickly. So scrap that. Head back to the run game. Just in totality, I think they can find a way to compete in this game. But if they don't, and this is where things start to get a little iffy, if they can't come up with a game plan and scheme this thing up to stay competitive, I think it spells disaster for the rest of the season and where you're at in the rebuild. You know, Gerard Mayo has time. DeMarcus Covington, Alex Van Pelt, they have time to try to set this team up for success against a really talented 49ers team, but a banged-up 49ers team. And if they can't keep them competitive, and if this roster can't stay competitive, I think you are further back in the rebuild than anybody initially thought coming into the season. And I think it's going to be a long year as we move forward because Drake Maye shouldn't be playing in a system where they can't even scheme up a competitive game against a banged-up team. And Jacoby Brissett's going to be, you're going to be jogging him out there behind a bad offensive line to potentially get injured. It could spell really bad things moving forward if they can't stay competitive.
I like everything you point out, especially just get back to the run game. It matches up well. It matched up well Thursday night, Keegan. Yes, Quinnen Williams is in the meat of that defense for the New York Jets, but they have had a bad run D the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We saw what Jordan Mason did Monday night. The Titans ran the heck out of the ball against him as well. The Pats come out and throw the ball 7 of their first 9 plays with awful bootleg. We talked about all that.
Yep.
But I agree. This is and I can't believe we're saying it in week 4, but also with this stretch coming up, maybe I'm sounding a little bit exaggerated here, but this is a coming to Jesus moment for this team. You talk about Alex Van Pelt having time. He doesn't have time. You need to keep this offense in check. You need to show that you're making progress where the offensive line's only gotten worse. And you need to show that you are building something that, yes, you're developing a quarterback, and everyone's giving credit, which I do too, of how far along Drake Maye's footwork has come in. But you need to build an offensive structure that at least can support Drake Maye and set him up for success. And we'll get that glimpse on Sunday. I'm not excited because I don't know who the Patriots will have at left tackle. Could be Caden Wallace. He's popping up as limited. Could be Demontre Jacobs, who in 14 snaps at left tackle last week allowed a sack and a pressure, but the whole offensive line was allowing sacks and pressures left and right. But if they get to the run game with City So possibly coming back into the fold, and you just let Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson eat. And I don't care. If it's 4 yards a rush in 3 plays, that would give you a first down. And just keep at it. That sets up the play action. And keep everything short. You started feeding Pop Douglas. Nice. Get Hunter Henry back into the fold. Can another receiver emerge like a Jalen Polk? And you said it. Whoever the receivers are, if you can't scheme them open again on AVP, then I don't have faith in you. I like what you lay out, though. It will be a lot to prove. Like, how does that team respond? Keegan, we didn't even touch on it, man. This outside zone run, led by Jordan Mason and Kyle Shanahan. If Anthony Jennings is banged up, limited, or can't go, he's one of their best run defenders, especially on the edge. They will feast. Can we see tackling? The 13 missed tackles that, Amazon Prime's analytics registered, added 100 yards. I swear to God, man, they missed 21 tackles. They didn't miss only 13. There's no way. Adding 100 yards, I agree with that, though. Like, there has to be that bounce back and that response from the locker room. And if you don't let this offense succeed, if you don't let the run game succeed, if you don't set up Jacoby Brissett for success, everything that's being put out there, and he's working with very little, and he is running this show as best as he can, given the tools that he has, you're going to start losing the locker room, especially the reports we're hearing coming out of Drake Maye out of practice, right? Like Mike Pellegrino gushing. We're putting in new coverages. He's hitting a deep ball, throwing it and landing it between tight coverage. Assistant coaches see that. The players see that. They see L's on the scoreboard, and they start going, who gives us the best chance? They need to buy time. They need to buy time with this offensive line. But a lot will come down to this game. This Niners team's not as solid as we've seen, Keegan.
Yeah, I think... we aren't experts, right, George? We follow this team. We know what we're talking about. But in terms of, coming up with a game plan and schematics and stuff like that, we leave it to the professionals. But having said that, I think last week's game plan was a disaster on both sides of the ball. Alex Van Pelt trying to mix in the play action. It was a nice idea, right? But when you can run the ball effectively through 2 weeks, you had no problem moving the ball against Seattle. I mean,
Seattle's allowing less than 4 yards a play, Keegan.
And they almost ran for 200 yards against Seattle.
Exactly.
This is a good running offense. So what do you do when you start the game against New York? You throw the ball 7 out of 9 times.
Dumb.
Brain dead idea. With all due respect to Alex Van Pelt, brain dead idea. On the defensive side of the ball, DeMarcus Covington is steadfast in his belief. He wants to attack the offense. That's awesome. You're down like 4 out of your 5 best defensive players. Matthew Judon, gone. Christian Barmore on the sidelines. Jabril Peppers and Anthony Jennings and Jawan Bentley have all struggled with injuries throughout the early portion of the season. You can't play that style of defense when you don't have the dogs to do it. And right now, he doesn't have the dogs to do it. So if we don't see a shift, and not just what they're doing on the field, but the ideology of the way they want to play offense and defense, it could spell trouble, like I said, not just for this game, but moving forward through the rest of the season. Me and you talked about it a little bit earlier with Christian Gonzalez. It's nice having a shutdown corner, and you can go throw him on one guy and kind of take away one side of the field. But when they're tossing the ball all over the other side of the field, it's a problem.
With no resistance. Jackson Smith and Jigba, you and I are very high on them. We saw 2021 JSN emerge in New England in week 2 at Seattle. Like, when that's happening, and awesome, he put up these great numbers against DK. Like, I will say that. He did terrific against DK Metcalf. That guy still broke over 100 yards and had that long touchdown on your secondary. Like, that is it. When it's good to have a shutdown corner who can eliminate the side of the field, but when the rest of the defense can't help you out there. And guess what with the San Fran team? If Debo goes or not, like, what did Jawan Jennings do? At 6'2", he's going to locate, and he's go, Kyle Shanahan knows, Ayuk, you're going to have Gonzalez. We'll still get you the targets. You and Brock are starting to click. Jawan, if you see 31 on top in front of you, if you see 25 in front of you, look at look at Brock Purdy, me, and exactly.
Go up and get it.
He's going to feast on him. And you point out the injuries. When a Jawan Bentley is out of your lineup, that means more of Kyle Duggar inside. That means more of Jabril Peppers inside.
Jelani Tavai, you're taking him off the line of scrimmage.
And he's a great edge rusher.
It's been awful for them because him and Anthony Jennings on the edge on early downs, they've been phenomenal. And now both of them are maybe off the line. That's going to kill you against the run. And if they can run the ball effectively, they'll have no problem throwing the ball.
I just get nightmares, man, of watching that San Fran run game against the Jets. And I know it's 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks removed. But, also, Jordan Mason went for over 100 yards in week 2. And he ate again in week 3. This run game doesn't stop for anybody, and they're getting more confidence in Isaac Guerrero, the speedster out of Louisville, I believe. He was at Wisconsin, then Louisville. He's a very fast back where Mason is patient, knows how to read. Guerrero will have that home run ball. Don't be surprised if you see that name and you're like, who? Don't be surprised to see guys feast. And defensively, we haven't even gotten into it. City I don't even know where he was on the depth chart before he got injured. Was he definitely the starter over Cole Strange or not?
Yeah.
But at least you got a second string guard back to take place of a third string guard.
No, let me throw this out there because I do want to say City he was named to PFF's all-rookie team. You say what you will about PFF
he was
stats,
solid last season.
But he was very good last season.
Yeah.
And Cole Strange was never really an option to start this year. Would he have started maybe on the right side instead of Layden Robinson? Would
Possibly.
City So have been moved over there? Who knows? City So is a legit starting guard in this league. Mm-hmm. And I think that's huge, throwing him in, because it doesn't just help out at guard. The communication aspect of David Andrews getting calls out to the tackle is so much better with a guy who's been here. And it's a new system, but he's been here. He's communicated with David Andrews before. Yeah. Michael Jordan never had. And Jordan didn't really practice with the ones all throughout training camp. City So gets hurt the week headed into the first game, and then you have problems on the offensive line. I don't think it can be overstated how big of a return City So could be. But then when you've got your fourth option at left tackle, it kind of doesn't matter. If you've got a guy out there like Vidarian Lowe, who we played alongside last year, yeah, that's huge. But when it's DeMontre Jacobs, that changes things.
Fourth starting left tackle in 4 weeks. It was Chooks. Yeah. He was benched 12
snaps.
If
he starts.
If DeMontre Jacobs starts.
If he starts.
It was Vidarian Lowe, and he started again against the Jets. And then, he was banged up. So then Caden Wallace starts against the Jets. It could be DeMontre Jacobs. You don't think the Jalen McKenzie signing is a big one?
That's another thing we talked about earlier. A little bit of nepotism, just a little bit.
Let me give you this, and I'm going to give a rare W to nepotism if it works out, right? Jalen McKenzie's Reggie McKenzie's son.
Yes.
Reggie McKenzie was drafted by Elliot Wolf's dad, right?
He got a start in scouting.
Okay, under Ron Wolf. Elliot Wolf's dad, who's a legend. So obviously he's doing that solid. Jalen McKenzie's only been a practice squad offensive tackle since he graduated from USC. His 3 years in the league. He's taken 169 preseason snaps at left tackle. That's not a lot.
No.
But at least he's been on the practice squad, Keegan, where it looks like he was practicing at left tackle every week. So at least he's been getting reps for 3 straight years at left tackle, which is more than DeMontre Jacobs, who had 540 snaps at left tackle at USF. He was a swing tackle. It's better than Caden Wallace, who never took a snap in college. It's better than Vidarian. Maybe nepotism gets a weird W out of it's not going. Dude, he's a practice squad tackle.
But let's be serious. He's the 7th option. You went Chooks Okorafor, he's gone. Vidarian Lowe, he's hurt. Caden Wallace,
3.
He's hurt.
Jacobs,
he'll probably get hurt.
Zachary Thomas with now 50 career snaps overall in the NFL. Another 5th option.
Another waiver wire pickup, just like Jacobs.
Yeah.
And then they've got Caleb Jones on the practice squad, who is a behemoth of a human being, 6'9", 400. I want to see that guy play football. And then it's McKenzie.
Just line up the 6'9". What's his name again?
Caleb Jones.
Yeah, I didn't want it. Caleb
nice
Jones.
And easy to remember. I appreciate that too. Big boy, big easy name. I appreciate that.
Just have DeMontre Jacobs at left tackle. Just go jumbo tight end the whole game. And then have Caleb Jones attached at his hip as another left tackle that could always be eligible. And it's basically we have 2 blockers. The over's load on the right side. And then have Antonio Gibson and Ramondre Stevenson and pass pro on the right side when they need to.
We saw the Patriots win a game 3 years ago where they didn't even think about throwing the ball. Mac Jones was their quarterback. Why would they think about throwing the ball? They ran the ball right down Buffalo's throat and won the game. The conditions were a little off than they'll be in.
It's hurricane winds in Buffalo.
Yeah, Northern California, it'll probably be 75 degrees on Sunday. But, we've seen them win this way. And one more thing on the defense I do want to throw out there. It's something that we've talked about. Everybody else has really talked about it. Christian Gonzalez is a great player. I think we can say that early on in his career. He's a really, really good player. But he's not Stephon Gilmore, and he's not Ty Law, and he's not Asante Samuel when Asante Samuel played for the Patriots. And none of those guys even did what he's doing, where they're lining him up against the number one receiver and just telling him to take it away. The Patriots always, throughout Bill Belichick's entire tenure, would put their number one cornerback on the number two receiver, have him erase him, and then bracket coverage on the number one guy. We haven't seen that yet this year. I would like to see it on Sunday.
Change something up because your entire secondary is getting eviscerated.
Right. You're one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL, so change something.
And
you can't just keep going.
Brock Purdy's a really damn good quarterback. Like, people could say what they want about him. He's mobile too. And that gets into my worry. Like, again, Geno Smith extending plays, ate him alive. Aaron Rodgers looking like Michael Vick, ate him alive. Brock Purdy can move better than Aaron Rodgers. Like, there's a lot spelling for trouble. Brock Purdy can extend plays. We'll see how they go. Also, Brock Purdy's a quarter Armenian. I need to backdoor that one in. When we look at the games, I always got to do that. When we look at this game, 11 sacks, 30 hits, and 96 dropbacks. That's what the Patriots offensive line has led up. I said it. I think the Patriots need to go out and get a vet, or they need to look at Joe Milton as QB2. Because as much as everything is to prove, and as much as we love the strides from Drake Maye, it's not going to hit his confidence if you go, Drake, we put you in last game. Until we figure out that mess in front of you when you line up, we don't want you in the game. Hey, what is Jacoby? He's a sacrificial lamb. Just put in Joe Milton as a sacrificial lamb too. I think they need to move forward with Joe Milton as your QB2. Have Drake Maye as your emergency quarterback. I'm fine with that. When DeMontre Jacobs is your left tackle, and it's been the mess that it is, against what's going to be Bosa,
poor guy hasn't even played
Jalen
yet.
Phillips. I'm already calling it a mess. Jalen Phillips. What have they given us to give us confidence?
They haven't given us anything.
Thank you. And then Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. Just like that's only the next 3 weeks before we get beyond that. If Jacoby gets beat up or the game gets out of hand, if Alex Van Pelt wants to switch and keep running the ball, fine. Drake Maye can't take these hits, Keegan. He cannot take these hits. He cannot digress. At all the steps they've made, because his mechanics did not look great Thursday night. Very small sample size, but didn't look great.
We do a lot of agreeing on this show. We're going to disagree on this one. I think, a firm hell no is my stance on putting Joe Milton above. This isn't an original point for me. I don't want to take credit for it. Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald made this point, and I thought it was very smart. If you put Joe Milton above Drake Maye on the depth chart, you take away all of the good faith that you've built up with this team as Gerard Mayo, as the offensive coaching staff. What does that scream? Putting your 6th round, 7th round, 8th round, who knows, quarterback in above your 1st round quarterback.
This is my white flag.
Waving the white flag. We don't care about winning. We're just trying to protect this one player on a 53-man roster. We want to make sure he's good, but the rest of you guys probably aren't going to be here the next time we're good as a team. We don't care about you. You can't do that. You just cannot do that. It is an awful look for a first-year head coach and about 80% of their coaching staff, which is a first year in New England. I don't think you can do it, and I don't think they will.
But for you to start Jacoby Brissett when Drake Maye's lighting it up in practice, like, what is that saying to your team as is?
Jacoby Brissett is a veteran, and he won in week 1. He won a game, and he didn't come into the same situation alongside Drake Maye, but as a later pick and as a developmental prospect like Joe Milton. At least Jacoby Brissett has enough respect in the locker room. Like, some of these guys have watched him throughout their college careers and their early NFL careers be a capable NFL starter. And, I will not put any blame whatsoever on Jacoby Brissett for what's happened so far this year. It's not his fault. I truly believe that. And I think the team, these players are smart enough to know that he's being put in an awful situation. And if it does come down to the fact that he just can't play, he can't go anymore, at least with Drake Maye, you can sell the fact that, all right, this is our guy, and we're rolling, and we're going to try to go for it right now. If you don't, if you go to Joe Milton, you're waving the white flag, like you said, and that is an awful look for this team and for a lot of these guys who you're going to try to build with, the Kyle Duggars of the world and the Devon Godshaws and Jawan Bentley even on the sideline.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to play that.
What they can do, though, is you guys watch a film. Gerard Mayo had a mirror on one of his slides.
Yeah.
Go look in those mirrors, guys. We all suck. And you know what changes this whole team's dynamic and the trajectory of this franchise for 2, 5, 10, 15 years from now is number 10 being a smash hit at that number 3 overall pick. And we're not ready for him yet. So go look in that mirror. Get yourself right. I'm including assistant coaches here too. Alex Van Pelt, go stare into that mirror. Because, buddy, your career's on the line with this. Like, if you get Drake Maye right and this offense takes off, that's a head coaching job. He knows that. He knows that. And if it doesn't, what is he going to be next season or the season after? A consultant for some head coach or an assistant tight ends coach getting paid by the Patriots but working for another team.
He'll be back in Cleveland.
We're putting Joe Milton at QB2 yet because you guys aren't ready for him. He's ready for us, but you guys are not ready for him. I'm not saying rest of the season, Keegs, but I'm not ready for Drake Maye to be the number 2 with the shots that Jacoby Brissett is taking, with the Leonard Williams falling on his leg, another Boye Mafi lighting him up under his ribs. All those hits he took right from the jump. Quincy Williams hitting him in the chin. I am not ready for Drake Maye to step in. Because what did we get from Drake Maye? 2 drives, 4 minutes, whatever it was?
Yeah.
What if that happens in the first or second quarter, midway through? There isn't that bailout of just run out that clock, it's okay. Because if you put Drake Maye in and you keep running the ball and you keep protecting him, same thing. Same thing. But if you have someone back there with a big arm, I don't like Joe Milton as a quarterback. I understand why they drafted him.
He can throw it far.
Exactly. Athletic with a big arm. Guess what? You mold him and he becomes okay. He'll be a good backup because your offense won't change when Drake Maye's a starter.
Right.
And God forbid he gets knocked out. I understand why they drafted him. You know what? Just put him in there. That's my thing. They're showing mirrors in New England. I'm looking in a mirror right now. Really, I'm looking at a monitor with your beautiful face opposite of it, Keegan. It is on the players and the coaches. He could look great in practice. We control that. He's hitting these deep passes. You want to know why Joe Milton's a QB2? Because you suck, including me, as in Gerard Mayo. So until we stop sucking, he's going to be QB3. I get losing the locker room, but whatever. I'm looking 5 and 10 years from now. F the locker room, because that locker room's not going to be here 2 years from now when he's really going to hit his stride.
While I do enjoy the idea of telling everybody on the Patriots
to go
they
F
suck at
themselves.
football, I think that's a tremendous idea.
It would not work.
I don't think it would work. And I think the conversation that you have about the mirror and watch the film and watch what is wrong with this team, it's not Jacoby, it's you. I think you can have that conversation before it comes down to having to play Joe Milton over Drake Maye. You know, in a pinch, if you want to play him over him, I can kind of understand the conversation. But if you're talking about starting games, like, all right, Jacoby's out for a few weeks, we need somebody to start a game, and you go with Joe Milton, I don't think you can have that. You can have a serious conversation and convince your team that that's the right way to go. Whether it is the right move or it isn't, I don't think you can convince your team that. And we do talk about it's going to be a whole different roster when they're good again. There are a lot of pieces here that they locked up this past offseason. A lot of extensions given out. Mm-hmm. We've already mentioned the Duggars and Godshaws and Stevensons. Right. Like, they're all going to be here, at least for throughout Drake Maye's rookie contract. Yeah. So I don't think you can sell that to not only the rest of the team. Try selling that to Drake Maye. Hey, you're the number 3 pick, but you're our 3rd string quarterback. That doesn't work.
If he's going to be your starter leading into the week, that gives you a full week of prep.
Yeah.
Raise up every single tackle you have from the practice squad onto the active roster. Yeah. And you're going, you know what we're doing? We're going to have 7 in to protect every single effing snap.
And you can design a game plan to keep your quarterback from getting hit.
I'm fine with that. But on the fly, that's why I say going in, if Jacoby is still healthy and he's still playing, and offensive line looks this bad, I'm rolling with Joe Milton as QB2. I am. I understand the locker room. I understand the dynamics. These are grown men. You got to look in the eye as a grown man yourself. I get that. Really easy for me from this is not an ivory tower, whatever tower I want to call this in Essen. Really easy for me to really easy for me to tell them that. But it's just with this, what he can be, the progress made. You guys want to win games? Guess what? Tough-ish. We sucked last year. We sucked this year. When we're good next year, we got to keep this kid on track.
Yeah, it's a tough conversation.
Politics, man. It's in anything. There's politics in it. It's weird, but it's what it comes down to.
Yeah, maybe I'm a fool, but I trust Drake Maye to go out there and protect himself.
I don't.
So
I don't.
You know, maybe we'll see. Maybe we won't. Maybe this is a ridiculous conversation that we'll never have to worry about because Jacoby Brissett's healthy and happy, and we're all rooting for it. Be. But in all likelihood.
Let me say this: Jacoby Brissett's a warrior. What is that video? Is it with Kellen Winslow Jr. when When he's like injured, he's like, I'm a warrior.
Bad guy. We don't give him credit for anything around here. Bad guy, Kellen Winslow Jr. Well,
thanks for backing me up on that.
I'm sorry. I had to.
He's a GD warrior. Anyway.
Well, Pop Douglas said it last week, right?
Jacoby's a warrior, man.
He's a soldier, I think he called him. He said he gets knocked down, he gets right back up. We don't have to worry about Jacoby. He's always kind of bringing us together. So he has the respect of the locker room. I don't want you to lose that right away if he goes down and then you throw in a 6th-round quarterback. That's just it's a tough look.
The only reason I was referencing that bust and overhyped tight end that's the son of a Hall of Famer was go to YouTube, type in Warrior, I think, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So all this talk we're saying, we talked about everyone in the building.
Yeah.
I've given up hope, not entirely, because I'm scrolling through practice squads across the NFL today. So I'm still trying to find a solution up front in the offensive line in the receiver room. Let's start with like a little wide receiver talk. Is that good with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
What can they do to upgrade that room, Keegan?
Throw to the guys you have on your roster. And I teased this with George earlier. He talked about let's look at some outside, bring some guys in maybe. Maybe try throwing to the guys that you actually have on the team.
Let's keep them open first and give them shorter routes. Not deep developing. Can we do that, AVP?
We're running 4 verts on every play all of a sudden. Alex Van Pelt thinks this is Madden 06, and he's got Michael Vick as his quarterback. It's not going to happen. Jalen Polk is a slot receiver. Mario Douglas is a slot receiver. KJ Osborne at his best is a slot receiver. Kendrick Bourne, when he comes back, is a slot receiver. What do you do with slot receivers? You run them on intermediate routes. You run them on short routes. Crossers. You scheme them open. You get them the ball in space, and you try to make something happen. The Patriots haven't done that for a second this season. At least try that before you go out and make more moves. They've done a lot of practice squad shuffling. Obviously, Jalen Reagor, after making a stupid Instagram post, gets cut. But they're bringing in a bunch of guys, a lot of bigger guys. Obviously, they need to find somebody at the X. You have options in the building already. Let's cycle through those first before we start bringing in more.
I'm over Tyquan Thornton, though.
I agree with that 100%. And I don't think it really has a ton to do with him as a football player.
Oh, it is.
He was put in a bad spot. Let's call it what it is. He never should have been a 2nd-round pick in the first place.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know if he should have been drafted. I think that's hyperbole.
Yeah, maybe a bit much.
He's a burner at Baylor. He can run a really good straight line. He should have been put in a situation where an offensive line can protect it and a quarterback can get him the ball, where you could at least be honest and keep a defense honest, and where they have to respect that. And that helps open everything intermediately before Mel Kiper has a conniption seeing cover 2 high safeties.
Too deep. It's a scary thought.
Right? Oh, my gosh. I just bring that up because I go back to last year, the flashes of seeing him run a slant on like 3rd down and just an awful release off the line of scrimmage trying to get loose from a corner. We see him running routes. He's in key situations. Like we saw him week 1, disappear week 2 and all that. This offense can't support a wide receiver like Tyquan Thornton. It takes too long for him to get open. He's too deep downfield, and the offensive line won't give time. Jacoby Brissett has one of the longest times to throw on average in the NFL, but that's a lot of him buying himself time.
Right.
I'm over him. I kid you not. I'm looking at practice squads today. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know how he resulted here. Donovan Peoples-Jones, it's worth a look.
Yeah.
It's worth a try at this point. He's on the Lions practice squad. Bring him in. See what he could get. I know there's a case of the drops. He's not the best route runner, but it's someone on the perimeter that does make tough contested catches. If no one's getting open, and whenever you put Drake Maye in, you're going to have to say, hey, just throw it to the X right there. 1, 2, 3, boom, go. At least the guy can make contested catches. Doesn't get open that often, but he can make contested catches. I'd rather have him on the active roster than a Tyquan Thornton.
That's how you know it's bad when you want players who can't get open. Give me that receiver who can't get open. I want to see that guy play football.
That's where I'm at.
It's tough.
I'm trying not to look at the draft yet, Keegan.
Yeah.
What I would say outside of him, and I think it's opening up, T. Higgins is unlikely to be a Cincinnati Bengal next season.
Right.
You floated this, and I do love this convo. Like, they should trade for him.
Yeah.
It would take 2 day 2 picks. You could do separate years, whatever the combination may be. Let's say they give up this year's 2nd and next year's 4th. Awesome. The Patriots have 2 third-round picks. They could come out with the top 3 pick, draft Kelvin Banks out of Texas. Really good outside zone, long arms. Elliott Wolf loves long-armed tackles. Spoke about with Vidarian Lowe. Check that box. With your 2 thirds, you trade back up into the 2nd, and that's when you draft Trey Harris, 6'3" out of Ole Miss. Likes it over the middle, lives on the outside as well, big play receiver. A dynamic outside guy, I won't say solidified number 1, but brings a different wrinkle to this offense you don't have. And then you have T. Higgins with Pop Douglas, with Jalen Polk, with Kendrick Bourne. We'll see what he has left. Now I'm talking. Now that's a receiving room. Trey Harris could be your 2 behind T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a big receiver himself as well. You give up 2 day 2 picks. It makes sense, especially as the Bengals. They need to look themselves in the mirror. Go, we have Burrow. We need to extend Chase. We think we have our tackles.
Yep.
This defense is god-awful. We need to get better in the middle at the meat, and our secondary stinks. We need to figure that out. How do you do that? Get more draft picks, 2nd and a 4th round pick for Cincy.
Yeah, I think we're a few weeks away from the T. Higgins conversation. I do like the T. Higgins conversation because, you grab him for the stretch run, you get him used to this offense, and then you kind of unleash him in year 2 after you sign him to an extension, of course. Yeah. Excuse me. But I just want to see, what can Javon Baker do? Is Kayshon Boutte a real person?
Yes, he is. He's real.
Oh, is he?
He exists.
You wouldn't know by watching.
You would know if you had a DraftKings account. Had to.
John Giles, Matt Landers, 2 guys on the practice squad, 6'3", 6'4". John Giles is 220 pounds. Give me N'Keal Harry flashbacks. I kind of love it.
Good or bad?
You've got some options in the practice squad just in terms of like sheer size if you want to bring them in. So while we're here heading into week 4, thinking about options to kind of change things up on offense, I would like to see who they have in the building first before you move on. But there are other positions where I wholeheartedly believe they need to go pick some guys up. So we should talk about those.
Yeah. What do you think at offensive tackle?
Donovan Smith is the first person who comes to mind. He's made 57 starts in the last 4 seasons. I believe that means he's only missed 6 or 7 games, including 2 Super Bowls, both of which he won. This is watching Donovan Smith block for Tom Brady a few years ago, it was like, oh, this guy stinks. But he's doing something right, clearly, if he is the starting left tackle for 2 Super Bowl champions in the last 4 years. He's out on the open market. He's obviously on the wrong half of 30.
Yeah.
You worry about those guys a little bit, but with what the Patriots have in the building right now, I don't think you can go wrong. Charles Leno Jr., a guy who's made 47 starts in the last 3 seasons. He's only missed a few games. And then Dwayne Brown. He's 100 years old.
Literally.
I know that.
105, I think.
He made a Pro Bowl 3 years ago, and he missed a few games last year, but otherwise he's been healthy. As a 39-year-old, you bring a guy like that in. We saw the Seahawks do it last year with Jason Peters. I remembered the name myself. I didn't even have to ask. So we've seen teams do it and kind of get by just throughout the year so they can get to free agency, get to the draft, and draft their real guy. I would like to see the Patriots make a move because you can't keep cycling through these practice squad, random pickup waiver wire guys throughout the rest of the season.
Someone that's proven.
Someone who's done it before. That's all I really ask for. Donovan Smith is at the top of the list for me.
He's taken snaps at one position his entire career. 10,005 career snaps at left tackle. That's 10,000 more snaps than Caden Wallace has taken at left tackle in the NFL. Not really. You probably played whatever. But legitimately, when you look at your depth chart, that's what it's so substantial of how big of a void this is.
Yeah.
I bring it up and I bring it up and I bring it up. I don't care about that Jonah Williams deal, how rich it was. I don't care how he's performing in Arizona. Literally, I do not care.
He's hurt.
That's an actual left tackle. And who knows what happens if he's here, right?
Yeah.
He's injured. But, I'm not going to, he's hurt. So you would have known that if you brought him in. And that would have been an actual left tackle you had.
Different circumstances.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Because I could say that with bringing Donovan Smith. He'll get hurt on the second snap. No. Right?
Yeah.
They should have done that. They should have brought in an actual left tackle. And you know what? Same thing. We'll learn a lot about this team for what they do against the 49ers, Keegan. If they go out and the left tackle is still a complete liability and they don't bring anyone in from the outside, that is a reflection on the front office.
Absolutely.
That is a reflection on the stubbornness. That is a reflection on just them being so amiss to actually going out and doing what's best for the team. Trying to be steadfast in either the guys they drafted, the guys they brought in. You want to save a locker room? You bring in a vet like Donovan Smith.
Right.
Whatever shape he's in, whatever he can do, he's an actual left tackle. It's insane that I'm begging an NFL team to get an actual left tackle. And I say it that way, but I do because they don't have that on this roster. They never did.
Yeah.
They never did, Keegan.
We've seen it before where teams they have this idea in their head that they're going to develop all their talent. And time after time time, you end up having to give up because it's a danger to your quarterback, right? Like, you want to develop Caden Wallace, and I'm not completely out on Caden Wallace as a football player for the rest of his career. I think that would be silly. He made one start. It was at a place he's never played before. It didn't go well. He got hurt. Yeah, that sucks, right? But can he be your right tackle? Can you move Mike Onwenu into play right guard? Can you take Layden Robinson off the field and let him develop? Can you sign Donovan Smith and plug him in at left tackle where you have City So, you have David Andrews in the middle? That offensive line, to me, from an outside perspective, looks about 187,000 times better than what they're rolling out week after week after week after week with the fourth straight different left tackle. I can't stand to keep watching the turnstile. I made the joke last time I was on where watching competent football was refreshing.
It was.
It's incompetent football is what it is. And it's incompetent work by the front office to not address it.
It's incompetency from the front, from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's where you go when AVP goes out, we're going game plan. Like, I always chalk it up to when I see something go through, they know more than I do.
Yeah.
That's what I try to say with that Caden Wallace draft. Like, all right, they know more than I do.
Right.
Let's see. Like, they see something we don't. They
clearly talked to the guy before they drafted him and asked him if he was comfortable, right? Like, it wasn't like they went out there and drafted him and they were like, hey, by the way, we know you don't want to play left tackle, but we're going to make you do it.
Or at least they see something and they spoke to him, maybe worked him out, and they said, hey, you can do it.
Absolutely. There was a reason he never played left tackle at Penn State. It's because they had a 5-star first-round pick in Olu Fashanu at Penn State that he played, he had to play on the other side. It wasn't like it was because he was incapable of doing it. You've only had 4 months to teach this guy how to play left tackle, and then you throw him out there against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Yeah, it's going to turn out the way it turned out. But this team doesn't have time right now.
Exactly.
That's why you go out and make a move.
And that's why, to your point, and they should have looked at it that way.
Yeah.
You never played left tackle at Penn State. That's fine. We see you as a future tackle depth piece on the left side. But guess what? You never took a snap there. In college, we have this vet over here. Insert Jonah Williams, insert Donovan Smith, insert Keagan Stiefel. We have them over there. So you sit back and you learn, and this will be a redshirt year, and it's fine because you're part of the long-term plan. But they didn't even do that. So that's why I say they know something I don't. I'm going to chalk it up to them. I'm losing that. My confidence is very thin with Ellie Wolf and the decisions they're making. Let's all the college talking all this Caden Wallace. Let's get into what happened to Matt Sluka at UNLV. 4-year starter at Holy Cross, or played 4 years. Transferred to UNLV. They got off to a 3-0 start, ranked 23rd in the AFCA coaches poll. First time UNLV, running Rebels, football programs, been in top 25 of any major poll
ever.
And this kid left the team.
Yeah.
Stunning to see what come out. He basically explained it. Hey, and what we're seeing we don't know the truth. It's stuff coming from the UNLV side through sources, stuff coming from Matt Sluka and sources. Basically, UNLV told Sluka, transfer here. An offensive coordinator allegedly said, we will give you $100,000 in NIL money and you will get it done. He gets there. All of a sudden, his agent, his family's told it'll be installed payments of $3,000 a month for 4 months. He got one payment out of signing in August. It stopped there. And he said, look, you told me $100,000. I'm only getting $3,000. Literally 3%. I'm out. This is insane. And then you see where Saluka's dad says Barry Odom told him the offer isn't valid because it didn't come from him. Saluka's dad told someone that Barry Odom told him. That's why I'm not going to get into the minutia. But this is part of what NIL is. It's not contracts. No. It's verbal agreements. It is third parties where, hey, come here. We have all these sponsors lined up. We have New Balance in Boston. They'll give you $50K. We have another company in Boston, Car Gurus. They'll give you $20K just to wear their polo on game days.
Right.
But it's not in writing, it's not in contract, and that's what this opens up to. It's insane where he's looking at a team, 3-0, we can make the college football playoff. I'm balling my ass off playing the best football of my life.
Yeah.
But I'm stepping back because if I play that 5th game, I lose all my eligibility, and I think I could get paid one more year. This is interesting to see for Matt Sluka and all of college football right now, Keegan.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is the NCAA, when they made the decision, or when the government made the decision that NIL was going to become legal and the NCAA didn't really have a say in it, they went, all right, our hands are off. It's not our problem. You guys have to figure it out. And what do you do with a bunch of 19 to 25-year-olds telling them to figure out their own money? This is the stuff that happens.
Yeah.
We saw early in NIL where these guys were signing contracts, not even reading them, and then come to find out that all 5% of all future earnings now goes to the NIL collective that gave them money. They had to outlaw that, right? Everybody had to kind of come back to come back down to earth and think, all right, we can't have these kids just out there signing contracts because they get a big fat check in the mail. We're going to have verbal agreements, and it'll be through NIL collectives that the team set up, the organizations, the schools set up for these players. And this is what happens, where you tell somebody, we're going to give you this amount of money, and then you don't give them that money, and then you're 3-0. You're about to go to the college football play. Have a very real shot at going to the college football playoff with the 12-team playoff and the way the rules are set up, and he leaves the program because, let's say, Arizona State, who he happened to follow their head coach on Twitter, is going to offer him more money to come play next year in his last year of eligibility. It's the NCAA's fault that it even got to this point because they were so defeated in the fact that they had to actually pay these athletes, or that these athletes were going to get paid, that they just went hands off.
Yeah.
It's a black mark on NCAA as a whole and on college football, because really seeing a player, he's not completely off the hook here. Seeing a player leave his team after a 3-0 start and, the best start that they've ever had in program history, it sucks. It's not what college sports is about. But I guess whatever college sports is about now is never what it was before.
It's completely different. It's all changing.
Yeah.
And he's going to his team saying, hey, guys, love you guys. Busting my ass for y'all. You got us top 23. I'm out. And it's because of money. That's what modern day college sports is.
Yeah.
That's why you see coaches fleeing.
Yeah, we
go to the NFL.
We talk about it all the time with even coaches leaving one program to go to the other. Like Jimbo Fisher won a national championship at Florida State, and then 4 years later he leaves to go to Texas A&M because guess who has the most money to pay their coaches? Texas A&M. What's wrong with the players doing it?
Exactly.
Jimbo got crap. Florida State.
But Jimbo has eligibility. He doesn't have an expiration.
Right, exactly.
That's even the advantage he has. He can collect that money at the college level as long as he wants.
I'll give you this. Jaden Daniels, when he transferred to LSU from Arizona State, his teammates were packing his stuff and throwing it in trash bags, saying some pretty rude things about him as a player. And what does he do? He goes...
Wins a Heisman.
One of the 3 best quarterbacks in the history of the program, wins a Heisman, number 2 overall pick. Yep. So these players, they're being obviously advised by these agents and whoever about what's right for them, and sometimes what's right is making a really crappy decision in the moment, and then it comes back and it helps you later. Matthew Sluka, if let's say he goes to Arizona State next year, if he didn't redshirt, he wouldn't have a year of eligibility. He wouldn't be able to go to a bigger program on a bigger stage to perhaps show himself off in front of NFL with NFL talent and in front of NFL scouts. So it's a business decision. College football was never a business, they like to say, before a couple of years ago, but it's always been that way, and now the players have a say. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the players having a say. Maybe
Sluka at best should have played one more game. He would have hit 4, not 5.
Yeah.
Give a little more tape for ASU and then go. Also, you bring all this up. The one person that isn't mentioned, Matt Sluka better look at his agent and go, you're fired.
Absolutely.
You didn't get me that contract.
Absolutely.
This stuff should have been in writing. I think that should be the base for anything you do in life. You do a handshake agreement with your friend, that's fine. I mean, that's up to you. I'm not saying every single thing needs to be transactional, but with a side where it is a business. We're bringing you in for you to win games. You're coming here, so we'll pay you, and maybe you make it to the NFL. There should be a contract there. I'm getting paid. Who's it coming from? Those are the questions that should have been asked. And before you commit, before you move all your stuff out to Las Vegas.
Yeah, from Worcester, Massachusetts, of all places.
Right? No, and I agree. I'm all for the players in this. I'm happy they finally get paid because in a guy like Matt Sluka's case,
right,
his athletic prime is right now.
He might never make this kind of money for the rest of his life.
Exactly. He needs to capitalize to go to a school that'll pay him $100,000 to $120,000, whatever it could be. Get that money now. If he becomes a practice squad player, maybe you're making that much. Maybe if he becomes a practice squad player.
And that's a long shot.
Before he makes anything in life, get this money now. That's what he's doing. Jimbo Fisher, you point out, all these coaches are doing the same. Brian Kelly, to dip on Notre Dame without saying anything, to go to LSFNU, he's getting the most money he can. It's nasty work. It looks bad on Sluka. We'll see what the truth comes out. But I'm not going to knock a kid for just trying to get paid and set himself up for some success down the road when every damn head coach in college does the same thing. Every AD does the same thing. It's a money business. You're not a good athletic director because you hire a good coach. You're a good athletic director because you build all these new facilities and get all these donors to come in. I'm not going to knock a kid for doing that. The NCAA, for once, going hands off. If Sluka was illegally signing autographs, they would have been hands-on on that.
Oh, absolutely. But if this was 5 years ago, they would have dove right into it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I will say one more thing. Barry Odom, who you mentioned, the UNLV head coach, If there is one head coach in college football who's going to become the next on the list of guys to leave for a better job and for more money,
It's him.
It's Barry Odom. And what did he have to say about Matthew Sluka?
Nothing.
It's a money grab.
Yeah.
All right, well, you're going to be grabbing at a ton of money next year, so I'd like to see what he says after he gets a new contract.
He's just trying to get back to that Mizzou SEC level, which didn't work out for him, but we'll see. He's Keagan Stiefel. Keegs, this was a fun one. I'm George Balekji. This is Foxboro Rush. Wherever you get your podcast, please like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Go to Nesson's YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We're on Twitch as well. Follow Keagan and myself, too, on all social media channels, along with Nesson, X, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we're there. We'll see you guys. Have a good weekend.